I'm basically going to show you here how to add and partition drives on Linux. This is a little bit simpler on Windows because you can automatically just add a drive and it'll, automatically give it a letter, for example D or E, and so on. On Linux, this is a little bit different. So, for example, if you have a new storage device that you bought and you want to expand the storage on your file system, this is how you do it. First things first, you open your terminal, you type in lsblk. I'm going to add this argument here, you don't have to. This is just so a bunch of snap partitions don't show up. And this is going to show you all of your disks and all of your partitions. What you need to do here is you need to find out which disk you're using. So for example, my disks here are SDA, SDB, and SDC. Your one's going to be SD followed by some letter. Depending on how many disks you have, name could be different. It could be SDD, could be SDE, and so on. Just make sure you're using the right one. For example, I know I'm using this one because it's 2 terabytes, and I know my drive is obviously 2 terabytes, and there's no partitions underneath it assigned to it. So I know this is my brand new drive. Once you know the one you're using, you type in the following command. Type in sudo fdisk and then /dev/ followed by the disk you're using. In my case, it's SDC. Type in your root password, and now fdisk has opened. You can type in P to make sure again you're on the right thing. I know I'm on the right one now because it says Samsung SSD 870, which is the model of my drive. And yes, so once you know you're on the right one, you look at the disk label here. My one's GPT. If your disk is brand new, it might not say anything here. So which means that you will need to assign a disk label type to it. In which case you can just type in the letter G and bang, created a new GPT disk label. You don't have to use GPT, you can use whatever else you want. I'm just using GPT for my own. Yeah, so after you have that, you can type in N for a new partition. I'm going to make 2 partitions in this case, just to show you how to make multiple partitions. So you default 1, enter, first sector, default 2048, press enter. And this part here is where you set the size of the partition. So I'm going to do 500 gigabytes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do 500 GB. And there you go, created a new partition of type Linux file system. And then it's going to say, it might say like contains some signature, just say yes. And now if you want to create the second partition, you just type in the same command again, N, press enter again, and here you don't actually set a size because I'm assuming you want to use the remaining space, so you just press enter again and it's automatically going to assign everything, all the remaining space to that partition. So you type in yes again. Now if we press P, it's going to display the details of the drive again, as well as the 2 partitions that we have just created. So obviously you can just double check here to make sure you're they're the right sizes and so on. So once you have everything the correctly done, you can just type W to write the changes. It's going to exit, and now if you type in lsblk, your 2 partitions will be displayed here underneath your disk. Now that's all well and good. However, we're not done. What you need to do now is you need to make a file system. So what we will do is we're going to use the mkfs command, and I'm going to do sudo mkfs.ext4, and then I'm going to type in the first partition, not the disk, the first partition, which means it's going to be followed by a number. So I'm going to do /dev/sdc1, and I'm going to be making ext4. Of course, you don't have to do ext4. I just use ext4, so that's the one I'm going to be doing. And I typed it in wrong because it's mfks. It's actually mkfs. Sorry about that. And now it's gonna make it there. It's gonna take a second. And now you just repeat that command with the second partition. And again, it's gonna take a second or two. And boom, there you go. So once you have the file systems made, you can mount these. Except that this is the tricky bit because you need to know where you're mounting this. Most people just mount it in the mount partition. If you don't know where to mount it, just mount it here. make like a separate directory for it. I'm going to show you how to do that now. Some people mount it in /home. Some people mount new partitions in /root. It doesn't really matter. If you look up on the internet, different people will tell you different things. Most people just kind of like have their own way of doing it, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd into mount, and as you can see, this is an empty directory. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make two folders for my two partitions that I've just created. So I'm just going to name them after the partitions. So I'm going to do SDC1 and SDC2, and I need to use sudo, of course. SDC1, SDC2, and now we've created the two folders, right? So, whoops. Oh, come on. Jesus Christ. So, basically, the next thing you need to do is you need to mount them. So you do the command sudo mount, and then what we're going to do is we're going to specify the first partition, SDC1, and then we're going to specify the mount point, which is going to be /mount/ SDC1. So that's going to mount, and then we're going to do the exact same thing for the second partition, SDC2, and that's it. Now, if we actually list this now, we can cd into one of these partitions which we have just mounted, and as you can see, lost plus found has been created there, which means that the partitions were mounted correctly, because otherwise they wouldn't be there. So they're mounted, you can put data on them and so on, but now the problem is we need to edit a file to make sure that these partitions are mounted at boot time. That file is etc fstab. So what you want to do is you want to open that etc fstab, and here it's going to show you all of the boot time mount points, right? So you have, for example, boot EFI, I've got root here, swap home, and so on, right? So you need to add these partitions that you've just mounted here into this file, so that when you boot up your computer, you don't have to manually mount partitions, of course. So here's what you do. You need to specify the UUID for these, and to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to run this command here, sudo blkid, and we're going to, if we just do this command by itself, it's going to show us a bunch of crap, and you can get the UUIDs from here, but it's a little bit difficult. So what you can just do is you can do sudo blkid, and then specify the partition, so /dev/sdc1, and boom, you have the line you want. In my case, it's this long thing here, and I'm just going to copy that there, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to type in the following: UUID equals, and then I'm going to paste that in there, and then I'm going to have to specify the mount point, which was /mount/sdc1, and then I'm going to type in the next thing you want to put in here is the type, which in our case was ext4. Here you just type in the same defaults, no wait time. When you're touching stuff in this file, you want to be very careful, because you can easily mess up the booting process of your computer, which I've done in the past by typing in the wrong things in here. Okay, so for here you just type in 0. What do you type in here again? I think it's 2. Yeah, it's 2, sorry. Yeah, so you do 0 and then 2. And that's the first one done. Again, we run the same thing, /dev sdc2 for our second partition. Grab the UUID, copy it here, and type in the exact same, oh my god, what am I doing? And type in the exact same thing again here. So we do UUID, paste it in there, boom. Specify the mount point, /mount sdc2, specify the type, ext4, specify the options, which I'm just going to copy from the above ones, and then 0 and then 2. And that's it. That is basically it. So you just write that file, and you can close your terminals, and now when you open up your computer, when you boot up, those partitions will be mounted automatically. So now we can just, whenever you open up your computer, we can just go into cd mount, we can just cd into one of our partitions, and it's ready to go. We can put whatever we want on it. You can make sim links here from home or whatever, or you can just, again, you can just mount this in home. You don't have to mount it in a /mnt. That's basically how you mount stuff manually on Linux. I hope this video helped you.